IELTS Speaking Test. Part 1. Topic 1. Collections. Let's start by talking about collections. Did you collect anything as a child?
Yes, I was quite an avid collector. My main passion was collecting unique postcards from different Hungarian towns. I didn't travel much as a child, but relatives would send them, and I'd also swap with friends. I loved categorizing them by region in a big album.
Why do you think people enjoy collecting things?
I believe it taps into a few fundamental human traits. There's the simple pleasure of the hunt, the satisfaction of completing a set, which gives a sense of order and achievement. But more deeply, I think collections are often about preserving memories or connecting with a specific interest. They are a tangible reflection of what we value.
What kinds of things do people often collect in your country?
Traditional items are still popular, like beautifully painted hand porcelain or Hungarian stamps. But I'd say there's also a growing trend of collecting vintage or retro items from the socialist era, things like old posters, toys, or badges. It's a way for people, especially younger generations, to connect with a period of history they didn't experience firsthand.
Now, let's talk about technology. How often do you use the internet?
I use it every day extensively. For my studies, for keeping in touch with family and friends, and for leisure, like watching films or reading news from home.
Has the way you use the internet changed over time?
Definitely. When I was younger, it was mostly for playing simple games or chatting. Now it's an essential tool. I use it for online banking, researching academic papers, and following tutorial videos to learn new skills. It's become much more integrated into every aspect of my daily life.
Do you think we rely on technology too much?
That's a good question. I think there's a fine line. It enables incredible efficiency and connection, but yes, sometimes we rely on it too much. For example, I worry that navigation apps mean we never really learn to find our own way, and social media can replace deeper face-to-face conversations.
Let's move on to mornings. Are your weekday and weekend mornings different?
Oh, vastly different. On a weekday, my morning is very structured. I wake up early, check my emails, have a quick coffee and breakfast, and then head to university or the library. On weekends, I allow myself to sleep in, have a leisurely breakfast, and perhaps meet friends for a late morning coffee. It's much more relaxed.
What is the most important part of your morning?
For me, it's having that first 10 minutes of quiet with my coffee, just to plan my day and mentally prepare. If I launch straight into tasks, I feel scattered. That little moment of calm is essential for my focus.
Do you know anyone who has a very different morning routine from you?
Yes, my older brother. He's a doctor, and his shifts are very irregular. Sometimes he starts at 6 a.m., other times he has night shifts, so his whole circadian rhythm is completely different from mine. He often skips breakfast entirely, which I could never do.
IELTS Speaking Test Part 2. Now, I'm going to give you a topic. You'll have 1 minute to prepare and then you'll need to speak for 1 to 2 minutes. Here is your topic and a pencil and paper for your notes. Describe an interesting historical period you would like to learn more about. Alright, you can begin speaking now. I'll stop you after 2 minutes.
The historical period I find fascinating, and would love to delve into deeper, is the Austro-Hungarian monarchy, specifically around the turn of the 20th century, leading up to the First World War. I first learned about it in detail during my secondary school history classes, but it was always presented from a quite nationalistic Hungarian perspective. I know the basic facts. It was a vast multi-ethnic empire ruled from Vienna, with Budapest as a co-capital after the Compromise of 1867. This period was a golden age of architecture and culture in Budapest. Many of our most beautiful buildings like the Parliament and the Opera House were built then. There was tremendous economic and scientific progress. However, I also know it was a time of deep social tensions and rising nationalism among the many different peoples within the empire, which ultimately contributed to its collapse after the war. I want to learn more about it for several reasons. Firstly, because it's the direct prelude to modern Central Europe. The borders and many of the ethnic conflicts in our region today have roots in that empire's dissolution. Secondly, I am curious about the everyday life of ordinary people. Not the emperors or politicians, but what it was like for a Czech farmer, a Croatian shopkeeper, or a Hungarian journalist to live in such a complex, sprawling state. Finally, on a personal level, my own great-grandparents lived through that era. I have old family photos from that time, and learning more about the period would help me understand their world, their aspirations, and the immense changes they witnessed. It feels like learning about them, and in a way, about the foundations of my own country's modern identity.
Thank you. Did you ever talk about this period with your family?
Not really, no. My grandparents were born after the empire ended, so it was already a past era for them.
IELTS Speaking Test Part 3. We've been talking about a historical period. Now let's discuss some broader questions related to history. How important do you think it is for schools to teach history?
I think it's fundamentally important, but not just as a list of dates and kings. It should be taught as a way to understand cause and effect, human nature, and the origins of our current society. It helps create informed citizens. If taught well, it can foster critical thinking and empathy by showing different perspectives on past events.
Some people say that learning about the past has no value for our lives today. What's your opinion?
I couldn't disagree more. While we shouldn't live in the past, ignoring it is like navigating without a map. History doesn't repeat itself exactly, but patterns do emerge. Understanding past economic crises, social movements, or how conflicts started can provide crucial insights for tackling modern challenges like inequality or international diplomacy. Also, history gives us a sense of identity and continuity.
In what ways can technology help us learn about history?
In incredible ways. Digitized archives and databases give global access to primary sources such as letters, photographs, official records that were once locked away. Virtual reality can recreate historical sites, allowing you to walk through ancient Rome or a Viking village. Online platforms connect amateur historians and allow for collaborative research. However, the challenge is verifying information, as the internet is also full of oversimplifications and myths.
Do you think the way history is presented in museums will change in the future?
Yes, I believe it's already changing. The old-style museum with glass cases and dry descriptions is evolving. Museums are becoming more interactive and experimental. They are focusing more on telling the stories of ordinary people, not just elites, and they are acknowledging multiple narratives. For example, a museum about an empire might now include the perspectives of the colonized, not just the colonizers. Technology will play a big part, but the core shift is towards engagement and inclusivity.
How can a country's history influence its present-day character?
Profoundly, in almost every aspect. It shapes national celebrations, collective memory, and even unconscious biases. For instance, a country with a history of being invaded might place a high value on self-reliance and military strength. A nation built by immigrants might have a more outwardly open and multicultural identity. Historical traumas, like wars or revolutions, can echo through generations. Of course, it's not deterministic. People can reinterpret and move beyond their history, but it provides a powerful foundational narrative.
Very interesting. Thank you very much. That is the end of the speaking test.
Thank you. Goodbye.
Goodbye.